minute. Welcome back to Yirara.
Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to another episode of Maths with our Year 7 and 8 students. We're excited to bring you some new learning today. My name is Mr. Liko.
I'm Mr. Keegan, I'm his LSO.
And we're looking forward to seeing what new learning we can do in our maths topics today. So as you have a look on the first slide of our PowerPoint, let's have a look at what we're learning today. We are learning to recap counting in 5s and 10s, which is the work that we done yesterday. We're also learning to describe what grouping looks like in real life. We'll also understand two ways of doing your times tables. These two ways are grouping and the number line. And we'll also introduce our next task in your workbook for today, which we'll be looking at our 2s, our 5s, and our 10s times tables. So let's recap on what we done yesterday. So in yesterday's tasks for our maths workbook, you'll see that we counted in 5s and 10s, 5s to 500 and 10s to 1000. Now, if you completed those tasks, Mr. Keegan has gone ahead and demonstrated what a completed task looks like. So as you can see, starting from number 5 on the first task, Mr. Keegan has gone in and filled in the missing boxes all the way up to 500. Mr. Keegan, can you give us a breakdown of how you managed to get some of those answers?
I noticed on the worksheet that each second number starts or ends in the number 5. So 5, 15, 25, 35. So I noticed that I needed to have each second number ending in 5 to know that I was right. Or it would be 0, ending in 0. And if it ended in 0, I knew that it was right.
Awesome. Cool. So that's one strategy that hopefully you've taken on board. Some of the number patterns that you'd notice when counting in 5s, for example. Let's have a look at our next task that we focused on yesterday. So counting in 10s to 1000. As you can see, if you completed that task, your sheet should look similar to Mr. Keegan's with all of those boxes filled in. Mr. Keegan, can you give us a breakdown of how you managed to do that?
I noticed it was the same as the 1 to 100 sheet, but instead with an extra 0. So I noticed I needed to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but with an extra 0, which was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70.
Awesome. So hopefully you noticed some of those number patterns and you've managed to complete a couple of those tasks. So today we're going to get into what's called grouping. And you can use this strategy to help you with your times table, So what does grouping look like in real life? As you can see on our next slide, multiplying and grouping, you can do this using food, you can do this within people, you can also use this using certain objects around community or around your homes. By doing this grouping strategy, you're able to count in larger groups or in even groups so that you are able to solve basic times tables or basic multiplication. Another way that you can use multiplication in real life, if you see on the next slide, you can see grouping in sports teams. Now I know a lot of you fellas and ladies love your AFL, and if you haven't already noticed, grouping also comes in sports. It can also come in music groups, it can come in dance groups, choirs, all of these different scenarios that we see in real life. This is all actually grouping. Now you might have been to an AFL training where the coach might have said, right, split up into groups of 3s or 4s. That's exactly what we'll be looking at today and how we can use grouping to solve your basic multiplication. On the next slide as well, you'll be able to see that by grouping and doing your working out, you can work out things like 4 groups of 3 or 4 3s, which equals to 4 times 3, for example, as you can see on the slide. So we're going to show you a little bit of that today. And in the next slide, you'll see more examples in regards to grouping and how we can use this to solve basic multiplication. Yeah. So let's recap. So back to the whiteboard, you can see that the two strategies that we'll be looking at is first the number line, which we've focused on a lot throughout this week. And secondly, we'll get into more detail on what equal groups looks like. So Mr. Keegan's going to demonstrate and I'm going to explain how to solve basic multiplication using a number line. You can see 3 number lines here, and we're going to give you 3 examples on how to solve these different equations using the number line strategy. So 2 times 6 looks something like this. He'll go from 0 all the way to 6. 6 all the way to 12. So in other words, that's 6 plus 6 makes this number, or the final answer, 12. On a number line, it would look like one line over there, the second line over here, which obviously equals to 12. What's another way of doing it, Mr. Keegan?
Another way we could do it is 6 times 2, which is 6 groups of 2. So from 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10, and 10 to 12.
Awesome. So as you can see in that different colored pen, right, this time you can actually flip that and it will still equal to the same answer because we've used the same strategy, used the same numbers, but in a different grouping. So as Mr. Keegan explained, the first one in the blue pen is 2 groups of 6. The second way that he was able to do it is 6 groups of 2. Right? Let's have a look at another example. So the answer is 18. The equation is 2 times 9. What does that look like on a number line? So we'll go from 0 all the way to 9. That's one group of 9. And then 9 to 18. So obviously counting, as you can see the numbers on the number line, you'll go from 0 to 9 and then 9 to 18, which is 9 plus 9 gives you that answer. Or in multiplication, it will be 2 times 9. What's the vice versa way, or what's the flip way of doing it, Mr. Keegan?
The opposite way we could do this is 9 times 2, which is 9 groups of 2. So from 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 14, 14 to 16, and 16 to 18.
Awesome. So as you can see, if you were to count and do this exact same example on your piece of paper, you'll see that in a different colored pen, Mr. Keegan has 9 groups in red, right? Or 2 groups in 9, which gives us the same answer. All right, now let's have a look at the last example, and this time we're going to try and put both strategies together and how we can see grouping also on a number line. So we have the answer 25, the equation 5 times 5. What does that look like on a number line? So the first one would go from 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, and 20 to 25. So if we were to count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 blue lines, which gives us that 5. And we've gone up in 5s like we done in yesterday's lesson. We'll count in 5s, which gives us that equation 5 times 5 equals 25. Now, how do we use the grouping situation or grouping strategy in this number line?
We would group 5 numbers together, similar to the number line, but going through. And that's 1 group of 5. That's 2 groups of 5. 3 groups of 5. 4 groups of 5. And 5 groups of 5.
Awesome, perfect. So, as you can see, as I mentioned, we've merged both strategies together to help you solve basic multiplication. Okay, so let's have a look at a grouping strategy in a much more practical way. So now that we've focused on the number line, Mr. Keegan is going to show us different ways of grouping on a sheet in front of you. You might want to use sticks, you might want to use stones, you might want to use any objects lying around the house to help you with this strategy. And this way, when using this, if you're solving multiplication that you might not already know, this is one awesome way to find out what the answer is. So using the grouping strategy and anything that you might have lying around the house, okay, so the answer is 12. And Mr. Keegan is going to show us what the grouping strategy looks like.
Do you want me to do the equation? 6?
Yep. So we have the equation 6 times 2. So the 2 represents the 2 groups. The 6 represents the 6 counters. So in one group we have 6, as you can see, the blue counters. In the other group we have 6 red counters. So you have 6 plus 6, or in multiplication, gives you that final answer of 12. Let's have a look at another example. Using the same strategy and also using our counters, let's have a look at what we can do to find the answer 18. Now again, if you're stuck on your times tables, and we'll be looking at that task for today, you can use this strategy or the number line strategy, whichever one is easiest to you, to solve some of those problems or solve those answers. Again, like I mentioned, you can also use anything lying around the house. It doesn't have to be counters, but you can use little objects around the house to help you with this strategy. All right, so Mr. Keegan's going to add some more counters, and as you can see, the equation would be to equal 18, as we done on the board, would be 9 counters plus another group of 9 counters. Therefore, the 9 represents the number of counters in each group, and the 2 represents the number of groups we have. So we have 9 counters split into 2 groups, which equals 18. And that's a great way to understand grouping. Now, let's have a look at a video on our PowerPoint to show you what counting or what multiplication looks like in a rap video.
Stacking chips, 6 times 6. What does that give me? 36. 8 times 4. What is the score? Don't know about you. It equals 32. 4 times 3. That equals 12. Just like my money, it's doing well. 5 times 5. That's 25. Crunching numbers in my head before I go to bed. Multiplying and dividing, it makes me glad. 4 times 4 equals 16. 5 times 2 equals 10. 7 times 9 equals 63. 3 times 8 equals 24. 6 times 3 equals 18. 8 times 2 equals 16. 3 times 4 equals 12. 5 times 5 equals 25. 8 times 9 equals 72. 9 times 9 equals 81. 4 times 5 equals 20. 10 times 4 equals 40.
Hip hop, man.
Awesome. We hope you enjoyed that video about multiplication, and now you have a much better understanding of those two really helpful strategies in terms of number line and grouping to help you solve your multiplication. So using those 2 strategies, let's have a look at the task for today. So if you turn the page in your workbook after those tasks we done yesterday, you'll see we have a times table chart up to 12. So you'll see 3 different colored arrows. We're going to focus on those ones today. So we have the red arrow doing the 2's times tables, which has already been done for you. We have the 5 times tables in blue and the 10 times tables in green. Your task is to fill in the missing boxes, right, using either the number line or the grouping strategy, right, to fill in those missing boxes to see if we can solve our basic multiplication. So having a look at the red column, you can see that counting in 2's. So if you go 2 times 1, 2 is on the top row, 1 being on the left column. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Counting in 2's, you'll get those answers right up to 24. Now let's have a look at 5 in the blue column. So you have 5 in the top row and 1 on the left hand side of the sheet, which means 5 times 1 equals 5, which has been done for you. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. And there's your first missing box. What do you think that might be, Mr. Keegan?
I think it might be, off my head, 20.
20, cool. So noticing the number pattern again, as we mentioned earlier in the lesson, what number patterns can you see so far?
I can see that each of the 5 columns, the second one ends in 5. So 5, 15, 25, I think that'll have to end in a 5.
Yeah, cool.
So that would be 35. Or they end in 0. So 10, 20, 30, that one must be a 0, so 40.
Awesome, cool. And that's your 5 columns, your 5 times table column already done for you. So your task is to now try and complete that green column of the 10 times tables and see how well you go. And we'll revisit some of those answers tomorrow. All right, so that brings us to the end of our math lesson for today. So what did we achieve today? And have we, as we have a look at the final slide of our PowerPoint, what did we learn today? We are now able to count in 2s, 5s and 10s using different strategies. We're also able to understand the meaning of grouping and the number line strategies using our numbers, and we're able to complete our 2s, our 5s and our 10s times tables on the task we introduced today. So hopefully tomorrow we'll see you guys again, 1 o'clock, same time, right here from the Yirara 2 studio here at Yirara College. We look forward to seeing you. Bye.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Miss Pam today, instead of Mr. Lico, to give you your third Wednesday's IL lesson, which is integrated learning. And we're going to continue on with
Mr. Max.
Mr. Max is helping me today. And just to recap on what we learned yesterday, we're going to have a quick look at our Northern Territory map here. And we were talking about, does anyone remember? North, south, east and west. Okay, so let's take a look at where Alice Springs is on our map. Right about there. Now what direction do I need to go in to get to Elliot or Tea Tree or even Catherine? For anyone who lives up north, we would head north. Right up that way. So let's pop this up on Daily Waters, because that's about where we turn off to head in what direction to go to Borroloola. Right out there, there's Borroloola. So we head
East.
east. Thank you, Max. Now, I want to head out to Kintore. It's a long way to what direction?
It would be west.
West. Excellent. Who remembers that from yesterday? Everyone, of course. And now we're heading down to Titchikala for the day out. We're going this way. What direction am I going in?
That would be south.
Great, well done. Now, let's take a look at our big Australia map, and we're going to just talk about the distance across the country. Now, Mr. Max came all the way from
Melbourne all the way here to Alice Springs, which if we look on the map is something like this.
Oh,
There you go. That's a long trip.
yeah, into Northern Territory, probably
Yeah,
about there.
about
Mr.
there.
Max.
That's right.
How far is that?
That is 2,200 kilometres.
Wow, and did you drive in your own car?
Yes, yes, I did.
Yeah, wow. And how many days did it take?
Took me 3 days. And how about your trip, Miss Pam? How long did that take?
Well, I dawdled around and I drove about 900 kilometres a day, and I left Brisbane over
Yeah.
here, and I wiggled my way through here and up through the middle of Queensland all the way to Mount Isa, then across to Three Ways, over this way, and then all the way down to Alice Springs.
There you go.
And that was a total of about 3,100 kilometres. And that took forever, and it was so hot.
What a long journey.
Do you think there's some other better ways to travel if you want to go all the way across the country? How else could we do it, which would be much quicker?
Well, one of the quickest ways that we could do a trip like that is to fly on an airplane. That would be very quick.
Yeah. So how long do you think it would take me to go from Alice Springs to Darwin in a plane, just roughly? Guessing, I reckon just a couple of hours.
That's
That'd be a
right.
lot easier than driving all the way in the middle of a summer's day, wouldn't it? So alrighty. Now, what we're going to see on our first slide is just a reminder of that map that you looked at yesterday with Mr. Lico. And it showed all of the states of Australia. So Mr. Max and I have just explained to you where we've come from the eastern states, all the way back to Alice Springs in the middle of the country. Now, on the next few slides you'll be looking at, it'll kind of give you a little bit of an impression of how far away we are from everywhere here in Alice Springs, and how far away Alice Springs is from your community, perhaps. On slide number 2, 3 and 4. Keep going. Okay, now this is a sort of picture we're familiar with out here, isn't it? That's something like driving along the Stewart Highway, and it would be flooded at the moment down south, but would look similar to that with lots of water over the flatlands. And you can see the road that runs along next to the highway, that probably runs along next to the railway line. So you can also catch a train all the way from Adelaide to Darwin. In the city though, you probably wouldn't be driving all the way. You might like to catch a taxi, a bus, or an Uber. Has anyone heard of Uber? It's like a taxi driver, isn't it? You can just call one and they'll come and pick you up at your door.
You can take a train,
Yeah.
you can take a tram if you're in Melbourne, and in Sydney you may even be able to take a ferry as well.
That's right. So there's lots of ways to get around the city without driving. You could be on foot too, because you might just want to duck down to the shops a couple of blocks away. Okay? Or if you like hiking, you could walk a long way, like this person's done, gone a long way to the top of the mountain to look out over the view. The next slide will show you, do you recognise that fella on top of the lookout there? On top of Mount Gillen in Alice Springs? That's Mr. Lico. He's walked a long way to get to the top. Okay, now we've got a short video to show you of a couple's travels around the country. And in that video, you'll see lots of different ways that they use to go on different types of roads, rough roads, highways, through the city and back out again.
I was scared of dentists and the dark. I was scared of pretty girls and starting conversations. All my friends are turning green. Yeah, the magician's assistant in their dream. Oh, and they come unstuck. Lady, running down to the riptide, taken away to the dark side. I wanna be your left-hand man. I love you when you're singing that song, and I got a lump in my throat 'cause you're gonna sing the words wrong. Is this movie that I think you like? This guy decides to quit his job and head to New York City. This cowboy's running from himself. She's been living on the high shelf. And they come unstuck.
Okay, welcome back. I hope you liked that little video, and it actually covers all of the things that we just talked about, how to get around Australia quickly and economically. Whether you like to walk, run, drive, swim, row a boat, there's many ways that you can travel across the country. And so what we're just going to recap on now, while you're looking at the next slide, is to understand what using north, south, east and west on a map looks like. So that's what we've done over the week so far. And we've learned that we can locate places on our maps using north, south, east and west so that we don't get lost. Also, now our next task is going to be about calculating the travel time and distance between places using Google. So this one is where your next task starts in your workbooks, and here's Mr. Max and I are going to explain what you need to do. Okay, now using Google, you can do this through your iPhone or iPad, or if you have access to a computer, that's even better. Even, some of you might even have a copy of a real map somewhere in community, on the wall in the community office, shire office, or at the school, at your local school. So using Google, you can find travelling distances and travel time for each of the different places below. Your task is to work out how far and how long it will take to travel by car or aeroplane. The first one has been done for you. Now, Mr. Max has made us a little video that will explain exactly how to do this task. So take your time now, pay attention to the details, and we'll come back to you shortly.
So we're looking for the ways that we can get from one place to another in Australia. Firstly, we're going to find how to get from Alice Springs to Darwin. So go into Google and type in Alice Springs to Darwin. Click enter to search. So we scroll down, and what we can see is that Qantas, an airline, runs a flight from Alice Springs to Darwin, and as you can see, it takes 2 hours exactly. So we've got that within our workbook. Flight time, 2 hours. If we scroll down a little bit, what we find is the map, which shows us the road distance, how long it takes to get there by car. And that shows up as being 1,496.3 kilometres, which takes 15 hours and 10 minutes. As you can see, that's exactly what we've got right there. Let me show you how to find Melbourne to Sydney the same way. So we go up and we type into this search bar, Melbourne to Sydney. I've done this trip myself many times because I'm from Melbourne. I've flown it, driven it, taken the bus, and been on the train as well. So as you can see here, there's lots of airlines that run this flight, and all of them take about 1 hour and 25 minutes. Rex takes 1 hour and a half. So let's write into our flight time 1 hour and 25 minutes. Let's scroll down and see how long it would take to do the trip by road, which is what many people do. So as you can see, the distance is 878.6 kilometres, and it takes 9 hours and 15 minutes. So I'm going to write that into our worksheet. So 878.6 kilometres, and the travel time is 9 hours and 15 minutes. Much shorter than probably most of the travel times getting between places in the territory.
Okay, now I hope that wasn't too difficult for you to understand. Don't worry if you don't have your workbooks with you and you're looking at that screen going, well, I don't know what you're talking about. It's okay. We're going to do this again tomorrow. We'll just recap what you understand about today's lesson, and wherever you might come unstuck, we'll go over that, okay? So just you can repeat this lesson online anytime you need to complete that task. All right, so do try Googling in your mobile phone and just type in basics, you know, like Melbourne to Brisbane, and copy the writing that's in the work booklet or from the video. Okay, so have a go, don't give up, and we'll see you again tomorrow for another lesson of integrated learning and learn some more things about Australia. Bye for now from Miss Pam and...
Bye from Mr. Max.
Bye.
Hi, my name is Mr. Justin and welcome to Yirara College. For those of you who were with us last year, welcome back. Our topic for Term 1 in 2022 is called All About You. You're going to be learning about yourself and the things that make you who you are. This week's topic is identity. We're going to learn about what makes us us. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to tell me what is identity, list some of the things that make up your identity, and identify some of the different identities that one person has. Make sure you've got your workbooks open and ready to start. We're going to start off with a quick activity to get our brains warmed up. What I'd like you to do is describe yourself using only 5 words. These cannot include your own name. Some words I might use to describe myself are father, a husband, a teacher, strong, and silly. Your turn now. How would you describe yourself?
Who am I? Am I what I do? An artist? An accountant? A teacher? A mother? Or am I what I've achieved? An honor student? An MVP? A winner? Am I the things I've done right? Or am I defined by the things I've done wrong? Am I a saint? A sinner? What about what others think of me? Am I all of these things? None of these things? Who am I? How I identify myself determines how I approach life. If I am what I do, I'll always need to do more and achieve more to find my value. If I am what others say, I'll always try to please people instead of my Heavenly Father. But if I listen to who God says I am and embrace His identity in me, I'll find the freedom to live out all He has planned for me. God calls me His child. He says I am wise and restored, that I'm a brand new creation in Christ. I am chosen and holy and blameless before God. He calls me His masterpiece. I am loved by God. He says I am made complete through the grace and mercy of Jesus, my Savior. And when I see myself the way God sees me, I walk with confidence because I trust the one who answers the question, who am I?
Our identity is made up of a lot of small pieces or elements. Some of these, like our sense of purpose or our values, are things that we develop ourselves. Others, like our gender or our race, are things that we are given at birth, and it's up to us to figure out what they mean. In your workbooks, you'll need to use this slide to complete the close passage. Read through the slide and fill in the missing words. I want to hear from you guys now. How many identities do you think a person has? Just one? Maybe 2? Who thinks more? Let's find out.
Who are you? What do you like to do? What makes you, you? Your identity, or who you are as a person, is made up of a whole range of different things. It can be made up of where you come from, your ethnicity, your religion, your language, what you like, your hobbies, your unique personality, and much more. When you have a strong sense of identity and feel confident about who you are more likely to have the courage and confidence to succeed. But how exactly do you have a strong sense of identity? Well, it's a combination of lots of things. Knowing who you are, what your values are, and being proud of all those things creates your identity.
I hope you've learned a little about yourself and about what identity is. Keep up the great work. Stay safe. Make sure you're doing all the right things to ensure that you're being COVID safe. Washing hands, wearing face masks out in public, staying within 1.5 meters of people wherever you can. Stay safe. See you next time.
Good morning!
Getting closer every day.
Welcome back to Yirara.
Hi everyone and welcome to online learning for Year 9 in Term 1 2022. My name is Miss Elizabeth and I teach in Year 9 and Year 10 classes. Firstly, I want to say thank you very much for showing up today. You have made a marvellous choice to get a good education simply by signing in, tuning in and right now. So we are looking at fabulous, interesting patterns in mathematics this term. And we're going to figure out which ones we can use to answer those tricky maths questions. Today, we will use a pattern to solve some of these problems and sort numbers. So let's get started. These online lessons are a bit unusual. If you go to the Yirara College website and click on Information, then you can find our maths book, Year 9 Maths. You do need to click 2 times. And if the clinic or school will help out, they may print the book for you. So let's see what we are doing in Year 9 Maths today. Thank you again for showing up. We are planning today introduction and welcome, come in and stay, listen and watch. Listen is writing numbers in words. The do part is sorting odd and even numbers, and then to ask questions. Let's listen and watch. So let's have a look at the literacy words and numbers. All the numbers go down the side here with the words for the numbers written as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, 14, 18, 19, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 and 100. What if we try 28? Let's look for 20 and then for 8. Well done, 28. Very good. What about another number? What about this one? 3, 5, 4. It is, 300. Well done. So we need the 3 and 100. And 50, that's right, 4. 354. Good work, good work. What about one more? What about this one? 708. Let's look at the hundreds. So it will be 700. Very good. And 8. Yeah, just 8. Great work. Well done. And now do. Let's have a look at the page that we had from yesterday. And we looked at the pattern for odd and even. And the page that we have today asks us about odd and even numbers. So let's have a look. Odd numbers end in 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. Very good. And the even numbers? Even end in 2, 4, 6, 8 and 0. Well done, you've remembered that. So now let's read this again. Write the following numbers in word form in the table below. Make sure you put them in the correct box. So it looks like we have to sort these in odd and even. It ends in a 9, so it will be odd. Very good. What about this one? 621. Yes, it ends in a 1, so it will be odd. But the next one ends in a 2, which means it will be an even number. Yes, you are right. What about the 6? Yeah, true. So that will be an even number as well. The next one ends in a 7. What about that? Yes, good work. That is odd. And the following is in good, even, and you know this already, odd. This 4 will make this number even. Even numbers end in 0. And the last one has a 5 at the end, so that means it will be an odd number. Very, very good. Now let's look at the actual task. We need to write these numbers in word form and make sure they go in the right box. Let's look at even numbers first. Numbers more than 500. 402. Numbers less than 500. Yes, 402. This is where we will put it. Good work. Now let's go back to our words and numbers and write it out in words. 402. Put a tick to say we've marked it and entered it. Let's look at 196. 196. 196. Awesome. 800. Yes, good work. 812. Put a mark to say we've entered it. And now we'll carry on down with 654. 654. Good work. 654. And the last even number is 440. And yes, that is a number less than 500. 440. Awesome. Awesome work. Now for the odd numbers, we will follow the same pattern. So we'll do this just a little bit quicker. But you can slow down the video and watch it over again so that you can pick up where the numbers are coming from and how we're matching. 621. Very good. What we're learning is how to write the number the way we say it. 267. Yes. 267. Very good. Well done. 963. 963. 705. And 700 is more than 500. So 705. Good work. Well done. That was a lot of writing today. Now we're going to look at the very last part, and this is where you get to choose. You get to choose to write your own 3-digit number. For example, 236. Now we've been doing a lot of work. We know that the 2 will be 200. Yes. And is how we say it. 230. Can you find that? 6. Awesome. Well done indeed. That is a great page of work. Let's check how much progress we've made today. Introduction and welcome. Come in and stay. Well done. If there are any problems, ask someone. Or once we get our links all fixed up, then you'll be able to write a note in and we can follow again. Best thing to do, if possible, go back onto YouTube or Facebook later on and watch it over so that you get that pattern well in your head. Well done. Stay safe, stay strong, and see you next time.
Hi and welcome to our integrated learning lesson for today. So today we are going to go back to listening to Ruben for another instalment of our walk around the desert park, finding out about our bush tucker. We're also going to look at page 7 in the workbook. First we're going to find out how to do it, and then you guys are going to go ahead and do it yourselves. Now if you don't have the workbook yet, please don't worry. You can think about the questions, you can talk to someone about the questions, or you can even write them on a separate bit of paper. I hope your workbooks come soon, and let's have a look at the first video.
But what I've got here is I've actually got a witchetty bush, but there's something that you may notice different on this witchetty bush, and it's this vine. In here I've got my hands on a vine which is commonly called the native bush banana, and it's a big traditional food for basically the Aranda people. And this particular food looks like that. I'll bring it up a bit closer for you. That's a bush banana. So that bush banana will grow on that vine. At that size, you can actually eat it straight away. So it's a bush tucker. I'll give it to the young lady here and behind the camera, and she can have a bite of it. I've washed it and that.
So just straight bite?
If you're a vegetarian, you're not allergic to anything, go for it. And that's your bush banana.
That's so nice.
As they get bigger, a bit bigger, you can roast them. You could even roast it now, put a bit of oil on it, roast it for 10-15 minutes. The traditional people would start a fire in a hollow of a sand, heat up the sand, then put that in there, cover it up, and that's roasting that bush banana when they're a little bit bigger. But yeah, basically, that's your bush banana. And there's another thing while we're in this area here too. That was your bush banana, but I've got a grass just down here. I'm going to break a bit of that grass off, and then I'm going to bring it over to you. Now, a lot of Aussies actually know this particular grass. There's up to 27 different type of grass out through the arid regions. This one here, a lot of Aussies I've noticed called it tumbleweed, like you see in those movies in America with a tumbleweed. This is like that. It'll break off and it'll just go around like a tumbleweed. Most Aussies know it as native millet. The seeds are collected, crushed up, in the old days turned into little mini dampers or Johnny cakes. Some family would call them Johnny cake, but basically bread. It's another little dough, and it can basically make bread. Native millet. A lot of Australians know that one. See if you can look up the Aranda name for them. Done. Alrighty.
Today we are really going to dig into some of the questions in our workbooks. Let's turn to page 5, which you should be able to see on the screen. This term we're thinking about bush tucker. When we come back to class, we will use a big A3 template like the one below to write about what we know and put it together in one story. For now, we're going to zoom into the boxes on the sides to get some ideas down in writing. Don't worry too much about spelling or making it sound perfect. We will keep practicing and fix things up when we're back in class. So if we turn to the next page, we'll come to this big word list in a minute because it'll help us with our writing. But for now, let's go straight to the questions on page 7, as this is your task to do today. The first question is, where do I live? What I would like you to write is which community you live in. Are you in Tennant Creek, Borroloola, Robinson River, Minyeri? I live in Alice Springs, so I'm going to write see how I put a capital letter and a full stop? Don't worry if you don't have time to do your writing now. Just listen and think of your ideas, and you can come back to write your answers after this live lesson. I'm going to give it a bit more information. So I'm going to write, it is in Central Australia on Aranda land. If you know how far your community is from Darwin or Alice, that could be a helpful thing to put too.
It is a 15-hour drive to Darwin.
First question done. The next question is, what does the land look like? This is where we can look at the word list on the page before for some ideas. Most of you know what Alice Springs look like. I might use, the words dry, dusty desert, red rocks, because the ranges are red, aren't they? You can write over your page as well. That's fine. I might say it's hot with burning bright sunshine. Although recently there's actually been lots of rain and thunder and lightning. It's been humid and the green grass has been growing. But you need to think, what words would you pick to describe your place? Or you can use your own words. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the question now. What does the land look like? And I'm going to write.
The land is dry, a dusty desert, full stop. The ranges are big red rocks, full stop. It is hot with burning bright sunshine, full stop.
What do you think? Does that describe Alice? Now make sure you write a few sentences using words that describe what your community looks like. Last question. What is special about my community? What is special about Alice Springs? Let's go back to the word list. I think Alice Springs is, let me show it to you properly. I think Alice Springs is cheerful and charming. What else? I think it's exciting when the Todd River flows, and definitely fun. There are fun events. So they're my words. Now for you, they'll be on the page next to you so you can see them while you're writing. So what will I write?
I think Alice Springs is cheerful and charming. Full stop. It is exciting when the Todd River flows. Full stop. There are fun things like the markets, and I have a lot of very special friends here.
Now you see, it doesn't matter that I've written more, that I've gone over the lines. It is, it's fine. And don't worry if you haven't had time to write while I was talking. After this lesson, just make sure you go back to page 6 and 7 to write your own sentences. But there we go. Well done.
Good morning, everyone. Today's art lesson is going to be about learning to draw better portraits. Another word for a portrait is just a picture of a face. And in this week's work, I set a task which was to draw a selfie. So the first way, or the easiest way to do this, is to use a grid. So I'll just show you. I've got a photo of Miss Rebecca here, and what I've done is I've ruled a grid on her photo, and then I'm going to use this grid to draw a picture. So I'll give you an example. This is one that I did earlier. You can see I used the photo and the grid, and that's just a way of breaking the picture down into manageable parts. So I can copy each individual box. The second thing that I wanted to say is that for this task, your drawing doesn't need to be perfect. That's what makes a portrait interesting. Everyone's got an individual style or way of drawing. For my drawing, I used a ruler to do the grid, a pencil and a pen, simple. So let's have a go. Okay, today we are going to be drawing from this photo. So the first thing that I'm going to do is rule a grid. A grid is really one of the easiest ways to copy a photo because it breaks it down into these individual squares, and then I can copy what's in each square. So I'm just using a pencil to measure where to put the eyes and the nose. Whoops, too big. Always just use really light feathery strokes to start with because if you make a mistake, then you can easily just rub out your mistake and correct it. When you're happy with the lines, you can press a little bit harder with your pencil. Once again, use the photo to do a rough measurement of where the lips are in relation to the eyes and the nose. So I'm always using points of reference on the photo to measure how far the lips are from the eyes and to measure how far the lips are from the nose. I start drawing this way. I start by drawing the eyes, the nose and the mouth. And then when I'm done, I roughly sketch the outline of the face. I can see that the top of the ear is kind of in line with the eye, and the bottom lobe of the ear is kind of in line with the mouth. So there are all these rough ways that we can measure the proportions of our face. And usually the last thing that I'm going to put on is my hairline. On this photo, it cuts off the very top of Miss Rebecca's head, but you might have a different picture. I also encourage you to use a big piece of paper. I know that on the handout I've given you a small frame, a photo, a camera frame, but don't feel that you need to stick to that if you want to use a larger piece of paper. And when I'm really happy with my my pencil sketch, I can start to go over it in pen. So today I'm just doing a simple drawing using this pen. I like simple. I don't like to add too many colours. And the last thing that you can do when you're happy with your drawing is maybe add a background, so any kind of wallpaper background. And then you can lastly rub out your lines.
Good morning!
Welcome back to Yirara.
Keep busy. Who wants to stay at home all day just doing nothing? Another thing is to earn money. Money takes you along, in life. What's really important, I think, is to be proud of your work. I love working here at Yirara and I am proud. But also, if you've got another thing to look at while you're working in a good job, you learn new skills. Okay, we don't need the PowerPoint now, we're just going to have a look. Yesterday you used the worksheets to tick off some of the things you're interested in, to guide you as to what sort of person you are. A persuader, a doer, and how that links to different jobs. So, what kind of job do you want to have? It's important to think about that because it's what you aim for and it's the training that you might need to do to get there. But of course, not all jobs exist in all communities. So we need to think about jobs that it's possible for you to get out in your community, and I've made a little list of them here. If we could look at the next slide, thanks. So, I think one of the greatest jobs would be a ranger job, or you could work for the council. What about working at the clinic or library? Maybe you've got a service station or a shop there in community. Now, I used to be a chef and cooking is a really fun job. Not only do you learn new things, but you often get to take some food home. Yum. Now, Ray, who used to be at school here, he wants to be a stockman. Now, childcare's good if you like to work with children, or you could come back, like some of our past students, and be an LSO at the school. Some of your family may work with art. You could work at an art centre or as an artist, a tour guide, even start your own business, you just never know. Night patrol, I think that'd be another one, but maybe a little bit scary. So, let's have a look at the PowerPoint for question 2. Why do you want this kind of job? One of the reasons might be that you're interested in this. Maybe the community is drawing you back, so you find a job in your community. Maybe your family already works there and they'll get you a job. Something positive about staying in a job for a while is that you can move up and get a better position. That means you can get promoted, maybe earn some more money. Maybe the job takes you there because the pay is good. Or you've made a choice, you may like to work inside in the school, or maintenance, they mostly work outside. Having a job, it really makes you strong. So we can take that slide off now, thanks Miss. Now one of your questions in the worksheet is how much salary you'll earn. Well really, that's just asking you how many dollars you will get. Now some jobs pay weekly, and some jobs you'll have to wait and you're paid fortnightly, which is every 2 weeks. That makes managing your money a little bit harder. So what is more important? Money or that you like your job? Well, I certainly think it's more important to like your job because then it's easier to come to work, and as I always say, if you're busy, the time goes quickly. Okay, question number 4. We have to think about whether a job is easy. I find the teaching very, very hard, and I think we're learning something here doing Yirara to you because we ask you to do things that you haven't done before and which are hard, and a lot of us are finding this quite challenging, quite hard to put it all together for you. So please watch and do your workbooks. Now, to be a bit more casual, I'd like to tell you a story. So, when I was in the Northern Territory, I thought, goodness, what can I do? So I travelled up all the way to the Gulf of Carpentaria and I got a job on a prawn trawler. Now, this was exciting. I'd never, ever done it before. So, The first thing we should do is have a look at the little video clip of what it's like to work on the prawn trawler. Okay, did you see that? It's amazing, isn't it? Now, like I said, I did this many, many years ago, and I have to ask you to forgive me because now I don't think it's such a good idea to take all the prawns like that, so many, you know, it's a little bit wrong. But as I said, you take a job when you can get it, and I can think about it now. So what we're going to do now is talk about the dangerous parts of that job. So if we can watch it again. They're absolutely huge boats, aren't they? Now what you have to realise is all of the equipment on the boat is just working by machine, so it's going continually. You have to be really careful because sometimes you can't tell that machine to stop. Okay, stop there, please. Can't see the screen. Okay. All right, we're running into a couple of glitches here. So I'll tell you about the dangerous things there. If we could just roll it on, I'll just talk over without stopping the video, and that will be easier. So you can see those big, big containers. What would happen if one of those fell on you? The fish are also really sharp, and sometimes you can spike yourself and you get terrible infections in your hands. Your hands get really, really sore. There's a lot of prawns. They're cooked. These are the fresh ones. These are ladies working in the factory. Now, what about your back? Everything out there is really heavy. And when you're lifting heavy things, you can hurt your back. You can see, oh, that's the end of the video. All right, I'm just going to have to talk you through it. That's all right. I hope you notice the big nets coming on board, and they are absolutely huge, and they weigh so many kilos. And they're swinging, especially if the boat's rough, and they can swing in and hit you on the shoulder or hit you on the head. They're also quite dangerous. Sometimes you get sharp things in there, sword sharks and things, so it's quite scary. Now I'm going to show you something that happened to me. I'm going to move over to the camera here and show you my hand. Do I bring it up higher? So see these two fingers here? Like I said, the machinery is just going all the time, and the ropes were coming up with those big heavy nets connected to them, and I was supposed to do something, loosen the rope and throw it over another winch thing, and I made a mistake and I threw it over my hand, and the nets just kept on rolling up, and it was all tight over my hand with the weight of those whole big prawn trawler nets on it. What did I do? I was so scared stiff, I pulled my hand out and I ripped the tops of my two fingers off. But I was lucky because I did that quickly, and I've heard of other people get caught with the rope going around right up to their arm and cutting into their arm. But I just lost the tops of these two fingers. Anyway, enough about me. Let's have a look at the next slide, which is studying for a job. So you can go to secondary school, college, TAFE, do some vet courses or certificates, do an apprenticeship or work experience, or even volunteer work. Now the last thing, another thing that I've done, and a dangerous job, is slide 6, thanks, with the man cutting. I think we might have to leave it there. If we could go to the last slide, thank you, miss. I want you all to think about trying to find a job you like. When you get there, always do your best work and learn new things. Also enjoy the friends you can make at work. I wish you all good luck in the future. Okay, thanks. Over and out from Miss Andrea.
Hello everyone, my name's Mr. Kieran and I'm the science teacher at Yirara College. Today I'm going to be talking to you about some of the basic safety things that we need before we can head into the lab. You'll notice I'm wearing a white coat. This is what we call a lab coat, and this is what we wear when doing experiments to protect our clothing from burns, chemical splashes and all those kind of things. I'm also wearing some shoes that have rubber soles. As you can see, these will stop me slipping when I'm in the lab working. One of the things we need to remember in the lab is that we're never running. So when we enter the lab, always walk, because there's lots and lots of hazards, slippery things. Just to keep you safe, make sure you're walking. We also need to listen to the teacher. So being in a lab has some elements of risk to it, and we just need to make sure that so that if something does happen, the teacher says stop, look and listen, everyone stops what they're doing, puts their things down and listens for the next direction in case we all have to exit the room quickly. You never know what could happen in a science lab. One of the other things we do is we don't eat or drink in a science lab. Why do you think this is? Well, one reason could be that we might accidentally put our water bottle down, and then we might pick up a chemical and drink that thinking it's our water, and we'll get poisoned. So we don't want to eat or drink in the lab. Eating, we could have something on our hands that we may touch the food, we eat the food, we swallow it, and that could get into our body and make us very sick. So we don't want to eat or drink in the lab. That is what we don't want to do. So if you've got long hair, if you're a lady, or you're a fella with longer hair, you need to tie it up or put it in a hair tie, just to make sure that your hair's not going into the work area, because we often do experiments where there's an open flame, there's a bit of danger, so you don't want to get your hair caught or burnt or anything like that. Accidents happen occasionally, so if you happen to accidentally break something or spill something, it's important to let the teacher know so that it can be, or the LSO, so it can be cleaned up in a timely manner. So what actually is it that a scientist does? We're good at solving problems. We're good at working together. We're good at following instructions. We're good at making predictions. So what is a prediction? Well, this morning I walked outside and I saw there was rain clouds in the sky. And I thought to myself, maybe I need to take a little bit more care when driving to work so I don't slip on the road or crash into another vehicle. That's a prediction. I also thought maybe I should bring my umbrella just in case I get caught in the rain. So making a prediction is thinking, what could happen? What do you think is going to happen? I can observe. Observe means to look closely at something. Really, really, really get an accurate record of what you're seeing. For example, this coat is white, but it's not pure white. As you can see, it's got a bit of dirt on the sleeve. That's looking closely at something. I can explain. So explaining is what I'm doing now. I'm talking about what a scientist does. Instead of sitting back and chilling out, I need to get involved. I need to help my lab partner too. I can compare. So I can look at one thing and I can look at the other and go, that one looks bigger, that one looks smaller. I can measure accurately. So to measure, we know with our numbers, we start with 0 and we go up from there. So I need to know exactly how tall something is or how full something is in order to be able to compare it to something else. Science isn't just about doing experiments, it's about understanding the ways of the world in order to keep us safer and more knowledgeable about our surroundings. So here we are in the science lab. This is the front desk where I teach. I usually present from here. Class normally sits in front. Coming around here, we've got the work area. Now this is where you'll do your science experiments. What can you identify here that's a danger? That power cord there is something you might trip over. I'm just going to pick it up and put it over here out of the way. It's very important when we're working in a high risk area such as the science room to really be observing and looking out for dangers all the time. Now you'll notice these benches have got what we call taps to get water out of, and they've also got these little taps on the bench here. Now these is, when you turn these on, gas comes out. Now gas, when it's not burnt, is toxic and can cause suffocation and what we call carbon monoxide poisoning. So we really do not want to be turning on and off these taps without the proper gear connected to them. We've got our fish over here. Fish are responsible for keeping water and ecosystems clean, and we're going to be learning about that later on this year. So what you want to be doing is not going up to the fish and putting your hands against the glass, because that actually frightens them and can actually kill them off. So we want to try and keep them alive. Our aim is to keep them surviving and thriving for the ecosystem. Coming around here, this area here is out of bounds. This is where the teacher does their experiments. Any of these benches are available for you guys to work on. Now when you're doing an experiment, you want to make sure, just go and get it, you want to make sure you've got your notepad set up ready to record your notes. So you want to make sure you've got your notepad out and you've got your pen ready so you can observe what's happening as you're doing it. Oh, another thing is, when you're doing an experiment, you want to be standing and not sitting back, because what happens is if you're sitting down and something suddenly blows up in your face, it takes longer to stand up and move away than it does if you're standing up. You can just jump back out of the way and hopefully the teacher will be able to come and assist, or LSO, to deal with the emergency or problem. Alright, so that's safety. Now what we want to look at is this thing over here. This is called an eye washing station. Now if you were to get chemical in your eyes, if for some reason something does blow up or something gets in your eye, you want to come straight over here and you want to turn this on using your foot. You put the eye in there and just rinse it out straight away. Alright, so that's only to be used in emergencies. We don't want anybody mucking around with that, because if your eye gets something in it, it's very important to flush it out straight away, or you can do some permanent damage to your eyes. Another thing we don't want to play around with is what we call a fire extinguisher. Now this thing is only to be used by a teacher and only in an emergency. We don't want anyone mucking around with this, taking it off the wall. We want to make sure we have our things there ready to use in an emergency. Let's start with the content for the lesson. Now up here at the front, I've got behind me a thing that says laboratory hazards. From this picture, see how many hazards you can identify. Now a hazard is something that's dangerous. What can you see? Because you can slip over. So it's very important not to run, to always walk and wear enclosed rubber-soled shoes. This guy here, what's wrong with him? Sandwich in his hand, and he's eating while doing some chemical experimentation, which is dangerous because if this chemical gets on his hand and he puts his sandwich in his mouth, that chemical is going to go into his body. So that's a danger. Now we've got this lady here. She looks like she is... What's she doing wrong? She's got a spoon, but she's not eating anything. What do you think's wrong with that? I said you need to be standing, so if there's an explosion, you can jump back out of the way without getting your face blown off. Very dramatic. Alright, what's wrong with this bench? You want to make sure you keep your bench clean of any dangers. See that? You don't want that on your bench. You don't want anything on your... See that? You don't want that on your bench. You don't want anything on your bench that's not... What's wrong with this one here? She doesn't have her goggles on. So there's a flame, no goggles, but it could burn her eyes. Very dangerous. Looks like there's some stuff left on that bench unattended. So as you can see, there's lots and lots of problems here. Glass in the bin. What's wrong with that, do you reckon? It's a little bit tricky. Well, if I'm the janitor, let's say I'm the cleaner, and I go around the school to change the bin, I'm just going to pick it up like what you do now, before next week, is you can fill out your Yirara to You workbook. Week 2, make sure you identify all of those rules that we went through, those 6 most important rules on that page 1. Fill all those out, the answers are at the bottom if you forgot.
Good morning.
Welcome back to Yirara.
Hi.
Hello everyone.
Senior class, we're here. A and C. So good to see you all again today. Hopefully you're tuning in and you just can't wait for a couple of bad jokes to start off with. But hang around for after the bad jokes. We're also going to get on to do a couple of lessons. So that's the main point of why we're here. Anyway, Emily.
I'm ready.
I'm glad. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Canoe.
Canoe who?
Can you help me get inside? Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Ben.
Ben who?
Been knocking for 10 minutes and you haven't opened. Emily, will you remember me in a minute?
Yeah?
Will you remember me in a week?
Yes.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
You didn't remember me.
I saw that coming too, like as soon as I said it.
Yeah, right. Sure. Thank you for playing along. Okay. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I am.
I am who?
Wait, you don't even know who you are? Okay. And knock, knock.
Who's there?
A broken pencil.
A broken pencil who?
Never mind. It's pointless.
Pointless. Good one. That was a good one.
Thank you, thank you. That'll do for today. We'll save some more for tomorrow. So
Yeah.
thanks, Emily.
Thank you.
Give people a wave
See you
as you
guys.
go. Oh dear. Okay, so we're back here together again, and we're still looking at cigarettes and smoking. And today, I guess the thing we're focusing on is actually Indigenous use of cigarettes. As I said a bit yesterday, There is a decline in both Indigenous and non-Indigenous users of cigarettes over the last 10 or 15 years, a lot to do with advertising and people realising too just the damage that cigarettes can do. But unfortunately, there are it's not the number, but if there's 100 Indigenous people that I have in the room, there's a good chance that about 40%, about 40 of those 100 will be smokers. But if I have 100 non-Indigenous people in the room, there's only about 16 or to 20 of the people will be smokers. So there's still a lot more Indigenous people that are smoking than non-Indigenous ones, and that's a part of hopefully the education that we're going to look at now. And I don't think I've given away any secrets as to what some of the figures are. Now, look, just for something different, and before we watch this video, this clip from YouTube, we might have a look at the questions so that then as you're listening to what's on YouTube, you might think, that was the answer to, that was one of the questions. And whether you write it down then or whether you write it down later, we'll look at the questions now to start off with. So, the first question is, what percentage of Indigenous adults smoke? And so listen for that answer. True or false? Smoking is higher in remote areas than in city or regional areas. Okay, third question. Why do you think this is? Why do you think there's more people out in community? Well, if there is, because I can't tell you whether it's true or false, that's giving it away. If there is more people in community that are smoking than there are, say, around here in Alice Springs or up in Darwin or somewhere, why do you think that might be? Then we're going to complete this quote. The something you quit, the something. You quit, So listen for what they say, or you might even see it written on the screen, I think, to know what the answer to that is. Then fill in the gaps of the following information. Since something daily smoking has decreased by something among something like that, that's going to be an interesting one to listen for the answer to that. True or false? Pregnant women have started smoking more. Ooh. So do you think in recent years, have pregnant women started smoking more? Or do they now know more about what smoking does to them if they're pregnant and they're smoking? So is that true or false? And lastly, what are the 3 places that are running a range of programs for support? The 3 places that are running a range of programs for support. That'll be probably supporting people to get off cigarettes. So we're going to go and watch this clip now. It just goes for a couple of minutes, so it's shorter than yesterday. Listen carefully and you know the questions that you're trying to listen to as you watch this. Enjoy.
Tackling smoking can dramatically improve the health and well-being of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. We know that smoking can harm almost every organ and system in the body. It significantly contributes to heart diseases, cancers, lung disease, and type 2 diabetes. So quitting smoking, or making sure people don't start in the first place, can lead to big health improvements. Unfortunately, smoking is very common in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander population. Currently, around 40% of adults smoke daily. The levels are similar for men and women, and they are higher in remote areas than in cities and regional areas. But there is a lot of good news. Quitting at any age can help to lower and sometimes even reverse the health risks linked to smoking, and the earlier you quit, the better. Evidence shows that most people who smoke want to quit. More than 2/3 of daily smokers have tried quitting, and nearly half attempted it in the past year. Importantly, reductions in smoking are achievable and substantial progress has already been made. Since 2004, daily smoking has decreased by 10% among adults, and there have also been big declines for pregnant women. Our young people are leading the way. Smoking rates are dropping faster among young adults. Communities, health services, and governments are running a range of programs to support Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. These programs can help people to quit smoking, to never start smoking, and to reduce exposure to secondhand smoke. We know how important culture is to everything in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, and helping people to quit smoking is no different. These programs can be strengthened with expanded coverage, longer-term funding, and rigorous evaluation to find out what works to tackle smoking. For more assistance in cutting back and quitting, please see a doctor, local Aboriginal medical service, or call Quitline on 137848.
Okay, did you hear the answers that you were looking for to the questions that I read earlier? I hope so. Otherwise, you can always go to YouTube and watch that again, or in the next day or two, there'll be a recording of this that will be on either both Facebook and YouTube, and you can watch it again to get those answers, because this is important. It's like the more answers, the more facts we have, the better we can make some decisions. Now, so what are some of the effects of smoking? We're going to have a look at some of these things here. The next page in our book that we'll read it through together, and so when your book does arrive, you'll be able to look at it yourself and just be refreshed in your thinking. But it says more information about some of the conditions and diseases that can be caused by smoking. So the number one word that you do hear a lot is the word cancer. Now, smoking doesn't cause all cancers, but it's definitely got something to do with lung cancer. So smoking causes most lung cancers and can cause cancer almost anywhere on the body. This includes the lips, tongue, mouth, nose, esophagus, throat, voice box, stomach, liver, kidney, pancreas, bladder, blood, cervix, vulva, penis, and anus. So it's like every part of the body, and we had that little picture in our books yesterday where we were able to see the list of some of those things and pointing at the different body parts where some of that cancer does happen. The second thing is that it can cause a disease or condition caused by smoking, breathing problems and chronic respiratory conditions, which again has got to do with our breathing. Smoking is the main cause of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, a serious, progressive and disabling condition that limits airflow in the lungs. Active smoking also worsens asthma in active smokers and is associated with an increased risk for asthma in adolescents and adults. So again, some of you may have asthma. I don't know that, but if you do, smoking is going to make it worse. It's not going to help you with your breathing. So, if you or a family member has asthma, it'd be good to be encouraging them to stop, or if you know maybe it's a young one in your family that has asthma, encourage them to never start smoking. Okay, then we've got heart disease, stroke, and blood circulation problems. Smoking is a major cause of cardiovascular disease such as heart disease and stroke. Smoking increases the risk of blood clots, which block blood flow to the heart, brain or legs. Some smokers end up having their limbs amputated due to blood circulation problems caused by smoking. So, again, maybe you've seen someone who's had toes or legs cut off in the hospital because the blood isn't circulating down there, and they might have even gone gangrene. It's scary stuff. The fourth disease is diabetes. Smoking causes type 2 diabetes, with the risk of developing diabetes 30 or 40% higher for the active smokers than non-smokers. Smoking may also worsen some of the health conditions related to type 1 diabetes, such as kidney disease. And look, we all know that both diabetes and kidney disease, where a lot of our family are on dialysis, smoking is a part of that problem. It's not the only cause for it, but it is certainly a part of it. So again, if we can encourage people to stop smoking, back off smoking, not start smoking, then that's going to help with people either not getting diabetes or not having any kidney problems. Next point, there are infections. Smoking weakens your immune system, so you're more likely to get bacterial and viral infections. Okay, so you smoke, there's a greater chance of you getting an infection. Dental problems to do with your teeth. Smoking increases the risk of gum disease, tooth loss and tooth sensitivity. Once a person has gum damage, smoking also makes it harder for their gums to heal. So, I guess people are wanting their gums to heal and maybe see a dentist or something about that, but while they continue smoking, they're not allowing the body to recover. Hearing loss. Wow. Smoking reduces blood flow to the inner ear. Smokers may also lose their hearing earlier than a non-smoker. So this is every part of our life. Vision loss can be another problem. Smoking damages the eye and can lead to macular degeneration, the main causes of blindness in Australia. It could also lead to fertility problems. So smoking can make it more difficult to fall pregnant and affect sperm quality. Find out more, and we can talk about that when we're in class, and find out more about smoking and tobacco and pregnancy. Again, it's a serious thing. And also osteoporosis and menopause. Smoking is a risk factor for osteoporosis, and in women may result in early menopause compared to a non-smoker. So there's lots of things here. Now we get to a page where I'm looking for you to fill in some answers. And we're going to do a reflection on smoking information. First up, can you give me list 3 long-term problems that smoking causes? And I just gave you, we read through about 12 of them there. So can you, even without turning back on the previous page, can you think of 3 long-term problems? The second question is, what are 2 new facts you've learnt about smoking? Is there something today or in the last couple of days that you've learnt about smoking? And if you can give me 2 of those, that'd be great. And lastly, what is your opinion on smoking? Do you have an opinion? Is it good? Is it bad? Either, does it matter? And can you tell me why you think that? So there's just 3 or 4 lines there that you could fill in, and give me some of the reasons that you think, or give me to back up your opinion that says whether you think what you think about smoking. Okay, so a bit of work to do there, but hopefully we're learning something and seeing some of the the problems that come with smoking. So I'll be back in a minute with a maths lesson, and I'll leave you to do this integrated learning on cigarettes yourself. See you tomorrow. Okay, we're back for some maths now, and senior class A and C, the last 2 days we've been looking a bit at data. Remember, and that's to gather information that we can then use to help us to make some decisions. So it's using maths for something that's going to be useful and practical. It's, it's a bit like, on the board up here, I've arranged the ladder. I'm sorry about Adelaide Crow's people being on the bottom and upside down. But if you notice, the important thing is Richmond is on the top. And a part of that is that because if they kick the most goals and if they have the most possessions, they're going to win. And that's a statistical, a data fact. So we're looking forward to you guys getting back here, and we'll see the Yirara team out there running around with Clontarf, and it'll be great, and we can look at some stats and things at that time as well. But for now, we're going to just take this a bit further and it develops step by step. And today we're going to look at why do we collect data. So let's have a look at that page. It says the main reason we collect data is to answer questions we don't know the answer to. Collecting data can help us to find out facts, information, or people's opinions. It can also help us to understand what is happening in the world around us and also make decisions about what action to take. Data collection is important in lots of areas of work. Rangers and environmental scientists collect data about country and the earth. Doctors collect data about health issues. Teachers collect data to make decisions on assessments. So there's lots of data. The shops in the community collect data because they're not going to put something on the shelf if no one ever buys it. So they're looking at what is popular, what is the demand. When they get boxes of certain stuff in, will it sell quickly? If everybody loves Weet-Bix and no one likes cornflakes, the data will show that those cornflakes boxes have been sitting there for weeks or months. No one's buying them, so they're going to buy extra Weet-Bix or whatever is popular in order to have the sales and to make, well, they want to make the money, but they also want you to have some of the food that you want to have. So it's all over the place, data and the collection of it to make decisions. Painters wanted to find out which colour the locals preferred for the outside of their houses in community. So they asked them to choose their favourite colour for houses. The following categorical data was collected using tally marks. Do you remember? So we're going to look at some categorical data. Do you remember what the other sort of data was that I talked about yesterday? This has got to do with categories. Categorical, it's like grouping things together. And here we've got houses that are painted in certain colours. The other one, can you remember what that was? It had to do with numbers. And the word was, sounds a bit like numbers too. Ah, got it. Numerical. Well done. Okay, so let's have a look at this. There's a light bulb here, so it's a bit of a bright idea. Tally marks can be used to quickly record information. Each tally records one answer. 4 tally marks look like 4 strokes. When you get a 5th tally, you draw a line across the 4. So it's down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then across for number 5. This finishes a tally set so you can count in 5s. So then when you look down later, and we might look at this first example in the question where you've got how many houses are blue, you've got 5, 1 group of 5, 2 groups of 5, 3 groups of 5, we can count 5, 10, 15, and that's the frequency of it, that's how many there is. So we're going to, I want you actually, I'm not going to do it with you because I'm sure you can do this on your own. Count each tally to record how many people choose each colour for painting a house. Blue has been done for you, and the frequency is the total number. So you need to put a total for red, a total for yellow, a total for orange, a total for green, a total for purple, a total for pink, and then add those up to tell you how many houses are actually in the community painted in those colours. I was reading this before and thinking, and it's actually probably relates a little bit to the cigarette lesson that we've just done, because I know in a lot of your communities there's a house that's painted a certain colour where people go for dialysis because they've got kidney problems. What colour is that house? Yeah, that's right. Purple House, because that's the name of the people that help out there. It's the Purple House. Okay, if we turn the page, it says to ask, oh no, we did that, that was yesterday's. What a mistake. Okay, so this one's got 2 sides to it. I knew there was 3 pages today. So looking at that data that we had, and I don't know if hopefully we can actually pan out to see both, but the questions we've got on page 11, the answers are contained within that first table that we've made on page 10. So we're going to answer the questions of how many people chose red for houses, how many people chose purple for houses, which colour was chosen the most, which colour was only chosen by 1 person, which colour only had 2 people choose it, which 3 colours had the highest number of people choose them. So there's 3 colours. What's the 3 highest ones? How many people in total chose a colour for houses? So that'll be our total down here. How many more people chose yellow than pink? Ooh. So I've got to look at how many chose yellow, how many chose pink, and how many more chose yellow. So if I take pink away from yellow, if I subtract pink from yellow, total frequency, the total, then I'll get the answer to that question. What is the difference between the number of people who chose green and the number of people who chose orange? And can you write the equation and answer? So you need the total for green. Where are we? Total for green and the total for orange. And then we need to figure out how many more chose green than orange, and can you write that down in an equation? So, but I want you to do that. See if you can do it. We might be using plus or minus, add or take away, times or divided by, one of those things. We'll use an equal sign in it as well and see if you can put it together. And, okay, next little light bulb moment is in maths, the word difference means subtract or take away. If you see the word difference in a question, it will be asking you to subtract numbers. So we need to remember that as we do these next few questions. The painters need to pick 3 different colours to paint houses in community. Which 3 colours could they choose? And hopefully they would, rather than choose what they want, they would choose what are the most popular choices of the people in the community. So what are the 3 most popular choices there? Explain, next question, K. Explain why you think those colours should be used to paint the houses. I think I just gave you the answer. So I hope you're listening. That made that one very easy. And then our last page, on page 12, we've got some pictures here that are in a line or a box graph format. The rangers working on country set up a camera to take photos of moving animals around a waterhole. Here are the photos that they got after 3 days. So after 3 days, this wallaby or this kangaroo, or a number of them, came quite a few times. It was the main visitor, actually. We had a snake just come a couple of times. We had this, what is it? Looks like a rodent or something come along, or maybe a mouse. We've got a goanna there that's come, and also the frogs. So that was a possum. I was calling it a rodent. Silly me. Okay, so I want you to count those up, put the tally marks there and maybe cross them out so you don't count them twice, and then give me a total, or the frequency, and then you add the frequency up to give the total number of animals over those 3 days. Which animal, let's look at these, what have we got? 5 questions. Which animal visited the waterhole the most? Which animal was photographed the least? Which animal was seen 7 times? What are the total number of animals that were caught on camera? And lastly, what is the difference between the animal that was photographed the most compared to the animal photographed the least? Write the equation and the answer like you did with the house, painting the house in certain colours. So, look, a little bit of work to do there, but I'm sure you're going to be able to handle that quite well, because it's all there in front of you. Put it down, add it up, put the tally marks, answer the questions that are quite simple, and that's and we've taken the next step to start to see why do we collect data was the purpose for today, and you've collected some data there from the information that's been supplied to you. So do that. Have a great rest of your day, and it's been nice catching up with you now. Still looking forward to seeing you when you get back to school.
Good morning.
Welcome back to Yirara.
This is Yirara TV.
Hi, my name's Aloysius Hayes, and welcome to another episode of Yirara TV.
We'll be making braids and jewelry today. Bye. Bye.
This week we enjoyed a visit from Deb Martin from Life Education NT, where we explored what we drink and smoke changes the way we see our world around us, and how it can also harm our family and friends.
Hello, my name's Deb Martin. I work for Life Education NT and Healthy Harold. What's that called when someone can't stop smoking? They become...
Addicted.
Well done. Addicted, yeah. We travel across the territory visiting young Territorians, seeing up to 20,000 young people each year, and we're visiting Yirara this week. Real fast, hold your hearts up. We're going to do that for 40 minutes, till 11 o'clock, yeah, till recess. Keep going, flat out. That's how long one smoke can make the heart beat like this for. This week we've been at Yirara College working with young people, talking about tobacco and alcohol, the effects on the body, role-playing scenarios about keeping safe, and discussing strategies of what to do if ever put in a situation to keep themselves safe but also their friends safe as well. Hey fellas, what did we work on today?
But we did a little role play about how to say no to stop drinking and not drinking with friends. So yeah.
Young people experience a lot of challenges growing up, whether it be from family, friends, many decisions each day, especially around recreational activities, safe partying, making good choices. A lot of the programs last few days has concentrated on what to do in a peer pressure situation when challenged by a family or friend to try something, whether that be alcohol, grog, smokes, what to do or say to keep yourself safe, but also your family and friends safe too.
And we learned about how alcohol affects our brain and stuff.
And affects our nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things we have enjoyed was putting on the bear goggles, and yeah, I really had fun.
Thanks to the staff and students at Yirara College, and a special shout out to the Yirara aunties for getting involved in the sessions. Auntie, you ready? I'm going to point your finger. Ready? Try and move this one. Yeah, you move this one. What are you doing? You bung the car. It was really nice to have family involved, seeing what we do to try and educate our young people about staying safe.
Thank you, Miss Deb, for coming out.
Hope to see you next year.
Look this way.
Please.
Ready? Ready? Drive long, hit the brake this one.
This term in maths, one of our 7-8 classes have been looking at chance and probability. We did an activity with the blocks in a jar to determine the chances of picking out particular colored blocks. It was fun working in groups and keeping a tally of the blocks we would pick out of our jar.
G'day, welcome to Yirara College. I am Azar Sandy.
Yeah, and I'm Ricardo Brady.
I'm Jacob Unipingo.
And this is Yirara College, and we're going to say have a great day, stay in class, doing very good. Keep it up. Squaw!
Last week, the Duke of Edinburgh's Awards night held at the Alice Spring Conference Centre. Member of Breitling, Dale Wickfield and Mayor Damien Ryan present awards to 4 of our senior students. Georgia Miller, Jake Kerrigan and Shannon Isaac Noble were acknowledged for their work in earning the Bronze Awards, and a Silver Award was present to Daniel Campbell. Many of the skills they developed with this program help to increase their self-confidence and career opportunities. Once a year, Yirara holds a special church service. 7 students and 3 staff members confirmed their faith in Jesus, with 6 also asking to be baptized. Always an special event. We enjoy many families and friends attending, with the Mission Block Choir helping us sing some of our favorite.